Hello and welcome to episode 7. Are we on 7 episodes?
Yeah, episode 7. I can't believe we're still doing this, man.
Wow, episode 7 of the Pacific Perspectives podcast. I mean, I'm having fun. I'm enjoying this. Are you enjoying
fun.
this?
I'm
and we know that our good friend Olivia's enjoying this. Hello, Olivia.
Our one listener.
All right, what are we getting into today?
Well, I mean, quite a bit of stuff happened with the Oilers, and quite a bit of stuff happened with the Canucks. I'm going to let you start with the Canucks because you were just at that game, and I can tell you had a good time. How was it?
Well, I went a little bit insane. You know, like, if I were to live in Vancouver, go to like 10, 15 games a year,
Expensive.
I'd be more chill, you know? Like, I'd still be freaking out and stuff. I'd be jumping up and down. But I'd be more chill than I was yesterday. Because I live in Ottawa, and I only get to see 2 Canucks games a year, the one in Ottawa and the one in Montreal, and the Montreal game isn't until January, I knew I had to expel all the energy that I possibly could yesterday. And I did. I went to the game with 2 Sens fans. They hated me by the end of it. I was screaming. I was high-fiving all of the Canucks fans around me. I got to meet a bunch of people who knew me. That was cool. Thanks for coming up if you're one of those people. And yeah, when Kiefer Sherwood scored, I think I almost died. I almost gave myself a heart attack on like 10 separate occasions, but that one almost actually killed me. Because I was waiting. I obviously I had this sign, the one that says, "I'm just here to see Kiefer Sherwood." And I was telling my friends, like, you know, if he scores, I'm going to go crazy. And then from my seat, Ullmark was kind of blocking what happened, and I saw both Pettersson and Sherwood in the crease. And I didn't know, for like 2 seconds, I didn't know which one of them tapped it in. And then Sherwood stood up, and he started celebrating, and the way he was celebrating, and not looking at Pettersson or anything, I knew that he had scored it.
You could tell.
And I was just screaming my fucking head off. Like, I fried my voice. I think my voice is a little bit different right now than it normally is, because I fried it when Sherwood scored. And one of them had their head in his hands, and the other guy was just sitting there with like an angry smile on his face as I was just screaming, holding up this sign, just being an all-around idiot. And it was beautiful.
What an asshole. Everyone around you probably hated you, I'm not going to lie.
Well, see, the funny thing is, the Sens actually sold out yesterday because there are so many Canucks fans in Ottawa.
Yeah,
it's
I saw
like
that.
All blue. So
it was
the people didn't hate me because there were a bunch of other Canucks fans doing the same thing around.
It was like
I high-five a bunch of people. It was nice.
I would say, just from watching the TV, I'd say it was like 30-70. Is that accurate?
For like in
there's
Canucks
like
sense?
30% of the crowd was Canucks fans.
I'd say yeah, that's fair. The Canucks fans were a lot louder though, like comparatively, because obviously we don't get to see our team as much, and also our team's better. In terms of noise, it was like 70-30 for Canucks fans.
And Senators fans are usually, I find that's usually a pretty quiet barn. Maybe it's just an Eastern Canada, Ontario thing, but they're pretty quiet. Like, Senators fans are pretty quiet there, usually, in the regular season at least.
Yeah, so the other games I go to, I normally go to like 1 or 2 other Sens games a year. It's not really the most exciting atmosphere. It also helps that it's in Canada, Ontario, and not Ottawa.
Yeah.
So what? Like, I don't even blame Senators fans for not selling out consistently, because getting to Canada is a nightmare. It's so annoying.
It's just the stupidest arena situation in the league, and I mean, I also don't blame them. The travel thing on top, they wouldn't. But I mean, what do you have to cheer for if you're that team, right? Like,
that is true. You have no incentive.
Until you are winning consistently, it's like, what am I excited for?
Like, if it's if other teams that have arenas in good locations, like, you can just go to those games as this fun little thing to do. You don't have to be that invested in it. I feel like the people who go to Senators games and go all the way out there to see the Senators play have to actually be caring about what is happening. And it's hard to care when their team has been consistently bad. But they are building the new arena sometime, hopefully in the next couple of years. And that's going to be in a much better location. So at that point, Senators fans have no excuses to not be going to games. For now, I understand it.
It's gonna come about a decade too late. Let's hope they don't completely relocate before they get that done. Because, like, man,
I don't think they would.
I honestly think. I mean, who has it worse? Who has it worse, Senators fans or? I can't even think.
Nobody has it worse than Sabres fans.
But they're like, okay, right now though, the Sabres are actually like okay. I think if you're talking the last decade, yeah, easily. Like the Senators almost went to the finals. Obviously, it's not that bad. But in the last 5 years, it's the Senators because they have no hope. Absolutely no hope.
Okay, to all Sabres fans listening, do you have hope? And if so, don't.
Yeah, what's wrong with you? Well, like I don't know. I feel like they can get excited, and they have a lot more young players that are consistently kind of like coming in. Whereas with the Senators, it's been Stützle and Tkachuk and Shabbat for it's only been like 3 years of that, but it feels like it's been forever, and it feels like they haven't gone anywhere, and it doesn't feel like they're going anywhere. So I don't know. I mean, it's bad.
Okay. The Sabres are doing well right now. They're doing pretty well. They're doing, by Sabres standards, amazing. 11-9-1, currently third in the division because the division sucks.
It's so bad. Holy.
But I think Tampa's probably better than them. And I just don't have a lot of faith in Buffalo. Nothing over the past 15 years of Buffalo Sabres hockey has given me any reason to
I'm not saying I have faith in them. It's just, would you rather have the Senators team or the Sabres team right now?
I think I'm happy with where I am with the Canucks, to be honest. I feel like
that wasn't the question. That wasn't the question.
Please don't make me choose between those options.
Oh yeah, we'll get into it. Are you sure you're happy with the Canucks right now? In their situation, I don't know. Actually, you know what? Let's get right into that. So, the Canucks are currently missing like every single important player. Well, that's an exaggeration, but like they still managed to win. But I mean, how long can they keep doing that with this many people out? And there's no signs of Demko being any closer than he gets some mystery illness. Like I don't even understand. Like it's just a weird situation, weird team. It doesn't feel like they're going anywhere this year when that much stuff is just happening to them.
Well, first of all, there are definitely signs of Demko being back.
Really?
Because he's pictured at every practice now. He's getting reps in. It's not going to be that long, I don't think. And honestly, like, we're still fine with Lankinen. Like, he hasn't been incredible. He's had some bad games. I feel like the bad games really skew his numbers because he's had some really bad games. But in most of the games he's played, I think he's been solid and given us a chance to win. So that part, like, we've been fine with that. Besser should be back soon. He was definitely... His status was questionable for yesterday. Obviously, he didn't end up playing, but you have to assume he's going to be back pretty soon.
Yeah. He's
been practicing with the team for like the last week. I don't know if he has the non-contact jersey off yet, but he's practicing with them, so he's going to be back. And Miller won't be gone for too long. They said like minimum 6 games. Obviously, like it could be longer. Hopefully, it's not. Hopefully, he is okay and can come back, but currently, with how the team stood yesterday, I mean, it's really, really funny that I didn't get to see Miller, Besser, Demko, or Hughes because
still won.
That was so funny. Like, I was nervous when Hughes went out because I was like, "Oh, good, we're missing another All-Star."
Yeah,
but it just made the win funnier, and the team played well. I think Like, it's not sustainable for the whole season, but if they can get us some wins while we're missing all these big guys, I think that would be pretty good. They have a lot of heart. Our top line currently, DeBrusk, Pettersson, Sherwood, it has been analytically insane. Like, their expected goals for percentage is at like 83 in ridiculous. 8 games.
For 5v5, they're ridiculous.
They're so perfect for each other. They're all great defensively too. I mean, they're in the past 2 games since Miller's been out, they've gotten 2 goals in both those games. What happened? Why is Sherwood so good? I love this guy so much. Why is he this good? 12 points in 19 games?
That's just what getting out of Nashville does to a man. I don't know. Like,
I guess he was fine in Nashville, but he's currently on a 50-point pace.
It's just weird. Nashville keeps pumping out those randomly. Well, actually, I would say didn't really happen with Jeannot as much. But I was going to say they kind of keep pumping out those random bottom six players that just unexpectedly are just a legit second liner. Like it makes absolutely no sense, but nobody questions it, and they're like a legit, actual it's not just a heater. The numbers back it up. Type of like top six player. So I mean, I feel like it kind of had to happen for the Canucks that Sherwood would be this good, because if they're missing all these guys and someone like that doesn't step up, then they'd probably lose a few more games than they have so far. So it's a pretty good situation for him and the Canucks, I'd say.
Yeah, he's been given a very good opportunity with the people we've been missing, and I'm assuming they'll keep that line together for a while. But even when he was on a line with Heinen and Bluger, and they're great players too, but obviously not the DeBrusk-Pettersson level, even when he was on that line, he was still producing. He was great. So I he's just kind of good. Even without having the 20 minutes a game, he was still really, really good. So he's worked his way up. He's deserved this opportunity. He's making the most of it so far. I mean, the chemistry on that line looks great. Beyond that, though, like our second line right now is Joshua, Suter, Garland, which obviously you'd rather have as a third line, but they're all good players. And in the short run, like you could be fine with that as a second line. And the third line with like Heinen, Bluger, Höglander, like that's a third line. And then our bottom line is just all AHL players, but I like all of those players on the fourth line. I love Max Sasson. Shout out Max Sasson. I'm so happy I got to see his AHL debut and his first career point.
First point.
He played great. The assist he got is exactly why I've been advocating for him in the AHL this year, because he's just such a smart player. Like he's in his NHL debut, he's streaking down the wing, and he stops up perfectly, weighs his options, but makes a quick pass to Bluger perfectly in the slot. Like that's great. In your NHL debut,
it was a smart play. I turned on the TV, and that was the first thing I saw.
In your NHL debut, to make a smart play like that, to keep your cool like he did, I was very impressed with him. I thought he was good, and I'm glad that he got a point too, and I'm glad I could see it all.
So, my only concern here for the Canucks, and I still really believe in them long term, not talking about like this year, like into the future, like next 5 years, they're going to be fine. But, I mean, we've seen it again and again with players that they kind of miss time here and there. It always ends up being that they miss time in the playoffs, most of the time. So, I don't know. For me, it's not a good sign for their... I think they're going to end up taking a step back, not just in the regular season points. That's probably a given at this point. Even most Canucks fans will say that. But in the playoffs as well, man, if Demko is not perfectly healthy, I mean, I could just see him randomly missing with the exact same injury. Because the way it's been described is like just some weird mystery illness. And all the signs point to me that he's just going to miss the playoffs, and it's going to screw the Canucks again, and he'll be out second round to the Oilers again. Thank you.
Well, his injury is something that happened to his knee that hadn't happened to anyone before, that didn't have any history.
Like what?
It. So it is quite concerning, and he's had these injury problems the past couple years. Obviously, that like nightmare season of 22-23, he was out for a couple months, and we just could not win a game because our tandem was Spencer Martin and Colin Delia.
This is definitely different, though, this time.
Yeah, I have a lot more faith in Lankinen than either Martin or Delia. So, I mean, we can't really... Obviously, we want to see Demko in the playoffs. We want him to be our starting goaltender in playoffs because he's built for that moment. He proved it in the bubble. He only played the one playoff game this past season, but he played very well in that game. Those are the games that he is built for. I would say, like, of all the starting goalies in the league, he's one of the best suited goaltenders for playoffs because he does have a good mentality, and he's just solid all around. Like he was big for us last year. I
don't like to laugh at a guy with injury, but man, it's hilarious how all the tweets of Canucks fans saying, "Oh yeah, when we beat the Oilers, Demko will be there against the Stars, right, guys?" No, sorry, buddy.
He was not going to be there.
He was not. It's been 6 months.
He was not making it to that.
Not even close. But that's why this injury is so crazy to me. Like, people were talking. Elliot Friedman was like, he might be back against, like, if they beat the Oilers, that he might actually be back against the Stars, like game 3 or 4, sometime like at home. And then, like, all these months later, basically there's been progress, but it's like it doesn't. I don't even know when it's going to stop. So it's just an enigma. I'd be so confused if I was a Canucks fan.
Like during playoffs, it seems like they've decided this is just something he's going to have to learn to play with. So because it was playoffs, maybe they would have had him return just because it's playoffs. So, maybe it's a good thing that we got eliminated so that we didn't just ruin Demko's career.
You gotta spin it. I mean, you know what? It's been proven that running away from your problems is a good way to cope with them. So maybe I'll let you get away with that one. All right.
Thank you.
We've talked about the Canucks for like 15 minutes. The Oilers. So you're gonna let me yap here.
Yeah, that's cool.
This is mostly just constructive criticism on what fans are saying on the Oilers and like Oilers Nation and my comments. I saw something I didn't like yesterday. I saw someone say that Darnell Nurse has been the Oilers' best defenseman this year. And I just actually had to laugh. And
Are we talking about the same Darnell Nurse?
That's what I'm saying. Just because he scored doesn't. Now I'm gonna interject with this. He might genuinely be back in that kind of 2022-2023 form where he was genuinely a good like number 2 or 3. Obviously, he's never going to be worth 9, but I think so far I would have been fine paying him like 6.5. And that's a sad conversation to have. But at the same time, last year he was worth like 2. Like, he was genuinely garbage, especially in the playoffs. He just could not do anything. And I think it's not just a shooting heater. He is genuinely taking smarter and more dangerous shots from more. I mean, all the goals he's scored have been from super dangerous areas. It's not like years before or last year where he would just send a floater to the net and it like bobbled in. It was still a smart shot, but I mean, I always see him wreck the cycle that we're doing when he takes those kinds of shots, and now he's not really doing that. So he's getting a little bit smarter, and it seems like maybe his off-season training has helped a little bit. But besides just Darnell Nurse,
I've heard enough. You got to sign Darnell Nurse to a $10 million extension for 8 years.
Please. He already is on that! Anyways.
Yeah, give him another one.
You signed 2 Darnell Nurses. I think, it's a miracle we made the play. How far we made it last year, considering we were basically sinking $10 million. Actually, Campbell and then all the buyouts, we basically had $20 million in players doing absolutely nothing. And we still made it to within 1 goal of the cup. I think that's kind of insane to look back on. But
I think you would have won the cup if you had a good veteran goalie like Campbell in net instead of shit-ass Stuart Skinner. Anyway, continue on with your Oilers talk. We don't have to go into that.
Are you done? Okay. Speaking of Skinner, people need to stop blaming the defense. I understand. Particularly Evan Bouchard has just to look absolutely stupid. Like, what are you doing? I mean, I love Bouchard, but I've gotten absolutely frustrated at just random stuff he's doing. But it's not like it's laziness. It's just being stupid. It's nothing to do with his work ethic or Darnell Nurse's work ethic. Listen, we all hate Darnell Nurse, but he works hard. He is not just a flubster. Brett Kulak, he works hard. I think the only issue with the defense right now is Troy Stetcher and Josh Brown are literally some of the worst defensemen in the league. Josh Brown is never going to be here anymore until Bouchard is actually sick. But man, there's nothing really inherently wrong with the Oilers defense. It's super overblown. You hear it from inside the Oilers fandom and outside, but there's really absolutely no merit to it. They allow
you dumbass.
They allow the least high danger chances in the entire league. I'm going to rephrase that. They allow the least high danger, dangerous chances against in the entire league. When you just go to all chances, they allow the fifth most shots, or the fifth least shots, thank God, the fifth least expected goals against, the fifth least scoring chances against. Even if you think it's a team defense thing, there's no argument you have to say that the Oilers' defense is sinking us here, especially when we're talking about Stuart Skinner, who is literally last in goal save above expected. Last. He is the worst goalie in the league so far. But then he plays a game like that against the Rangers where he didn't face a lot, but he didn't sink us, and he was genuinely good when the Rangers were coming back in the game. So I still think Skinner is going to be fine. Like longer term, he's still going to struggle for a little bit, but we've seen it again and again. He bounces back. I've said it before. You just need to get a tandem goalie for him so that when he sucks, it can not matter. When he sucks, you can put someone else in there and it's fine. He doesn't have to be perfect, but man, we need someone else besides an AHL starter, Calvin Pickard. I'm sorry, he just is, to backstop that team.
A couple games ago, I saw someone in my DMs ask me to relay a question to you.
Okay.
So the question was, how much does Evan Bouchard pay you to defend him online?
Listen, he makes mistakes, and he actually doesn't make a lot of mistakes. So
yeah, quite a lot.
You want to know? Here, go and guess this. And it's a horribly track stat, but do you know where Bouchard ranks in giveaways per 60?
1 million.
Where do you think he ranks?
Wait,
like per 60
is
minutes?
Like one the most giveaways or least giveaways?
The most giveaways.
One is the most giveaways?
Yeah.
Okay, 1.
He ranks 130th. And that's just among players who have played at least 100 minutes this season. So
maybe it's because he gives away the puck in the worst positions possible. That makes it way, way, way worse.
That's exactly what it is. When he gives away the puck, it's basically every single giveaway he makes is bottom of the right circle in the defensive zone, gives it away either along the boards in the neutral zone or right in front of the net, which has happened only a few times, but that's where a majority of them are. So
okay, now how about that goal that the Leafs scored, where they were like on a partial breakaway and Bouchard just stopped skating? How do you defend that?
Oh, I'm not defending it. It was a weird situation and it was a terrible decision. But the issue is when people see a clip like that and they automatically go, "Oh, well, he's like an AHL guy. You know, he's not even good. He's just a McDavid merchant, isn't he?" Next game, he scores beautiful goal against Ottawa. So we need to stop generalizing. And you know what? The people in this podcast who are listening to this podcast, I think they're pretty on board with that. But just, man, Oilers fans in general, it's not just Bouchard either. You see one player make a bad play, and you seem to instantly forget everything else he's ever done and think that's his entire game. We saw it happen with Ethan Bear. Rest in peace. Homie got like 16 injuries after that. It happened with Hall, happened with Yakupov. I mean, I think that one's pretty valid, though. But it feels like every player that's ever run out of town here, that's why they get run out of town, because they had one very bad play or a slew of a couple bad plays, and people just couldn't get over them. And that bled over to the management or something. I don't know.
Yeah, I think the issue with the Ethan Bear thing was that Albertans are racist.
Well, that too, they were being extremely racist to him. But even besides that, there were a lot of really smart Oilers fans that could not get over the giveaway to Scheifele in the playoffs. Even though it was a good breakout pass. It was just a really insane play by Scheifele to knock the puck out of mid-air going like 80 miles an hour. But, you know, people just can't people need to get over little plays like that and understand that, look at the whole value they bring. That's really what matters, not a stupid giveaway.
Yeah. Yeah, Bouchard, I have no idea what to expect from him in fantasy anymore. I'm very confused at what is happening with him. Basically every game. I have no idea if I'm going to get 0.2 or 9 fantasy points from him. But he's been good this week. I think I'm going to lose. Do you know who my fantasy week relies on now? It's the last. It's the last day of the week. There's one game on tonight. It's Utah Toronto.
Vejmelka?
I do not, because no, he's not projected to start anymore. Okay, I picked up Jackson Stauber because
he's projected to start. I saw that. You know, in my own league, actually it's hilarious. I gotta tell you, there's a 5-point difference, and then just comparatively in our league, that would be like a 1 or 2 point difference. So even just a goalie start would basically guarantee you the win. Someone at 1 a.m. when the roster's updated and it rolled over to the next day, picked up Jackson Stauber in a competition just because he had like faster internet than the guy in this matchup that's literally losing by 4 points. So
crazy.
He goes to him, and he has no ads left, by the way, after this. He tells him, "You're going to give me Blake Coleman for a 1-day pickup." Blake Coleman's not an insane price to pay, but in this league, that's like you are getting a free 10% rostered player. He gave him up for the start. 10 minutes, 10 minutes before we record this podcast, he's not starting, and he's absolutely crashing out in the group chat right now. I love it. I love stuff like that.
Yeah, I'm a little annoyed, but I can't be too annoyed given what happened with our matchup.
Oh my gosh!
Some people will remember I was complaining last episode because I had lost to Xavier in our fantasy week by 0.04. But on a good old Tuesday afternoon, they stat adjusted, gave Jordan Binnington one more save, and I won.
The liberal media is against me. The liberal ESPN media doesn't enjoy seeing a white man on top. I think that's what's happening here. I think it's a little bit of reverse old style racism. I think that's what we actually need to do, a little audit into the ESPN studios, because Jordan Binnington did not make that save. He did not make that puck. Did not touch him. It probably touched the tip of his helmet, and we were like, no.
Call that a save.
No,
we actually call that a save from where I'm from.
Where I'm from, that's not a save.
That's a save all day.
But you know what? You really needed that win, because I am currently third in points for. Just made a slew of trades that upgraded my team, no matter what you want to think, and I'm probably going to win this championship. I'm feeling really confident. I'm 4-3, just beat Rory Arthur, and this is probably the best fantasy team I've had in this particular league, because I think in the past I consistently placed 12th out of 20.
I am 3-4 now, assuming Jack McBain doesn't score a hat trick.
You really needed that win.
Pardon?
You really needed that win.
I really did need that win. I would have been 2-5 if I didn't get that one.
Would have been cooked.
My team is kind of confusing. I mean, Bedard's doing nothing. Bedard's dead. He doesn't feel like he's doing anything out there, and then went on to do absolutely nothing out there. Hang on, let me look at his stats yesterday.
I think he had fantasy. Literally 0.2.
Let's go look at what Connor Bedard did for me yesterday.
Not even 0.2. He had 0. You hear
that isn't focusing, but you can tell that there are no numbers on there.
There's nothing.
There's no numbers. He didn't do anything. He actually was just skating. 18 minutes of cardio. Thank you, John. And Dylan Strome is now kind of cooked too, because there's no Ovechkin. Since Ovechkin went out,
Dylan Strome is pretty good. I mean, he's not going to get those assists on Ovi's goals he was getting before, but he's still like a 60-point player without him.
He got 0.25 fantasy points the game Ovi after Ovi went out, and yesterday he got 0.2. I'm a little bit concerned.
He's adjusting. He's adjusting to having morons on his wing.
Kiefer Sherwood is the GOAT, and that's the greatest pickup of my life. Considering I picked him up before the season even started, just because I was like, I'm just gonna take Kiefer Sherwood. Why not? And he's just really, really good.
It's like the Canucks. It's just for every really good player, or for every player that should be doing really good, there's a random guy who's compensating for it.
Yeah. Yeah, thank you, Kiefer, for trying to get me back into this week. Unfortunately, I think I'm losing. Let's go, Jack McBain.
You're. I think you're losing that. I'm gonna be. How much are you down by?
10.
Oh, you're. Even if you had that goalie start, even if you had that goalie start, you would have needed a miracle, more than a miracle.
Yeah, I know. I would have needed the reason, when I picked him up, I was thinking, okay, he's playing Toronto. Toronto loses these types of games.
True.
That is not a game they should ever lose, but they might lose it just because they're Toronto. I'm screwed though. I'm screwed because he has a wall. But whatever.
You can tell they're going to lose that because there's no other games on. All the attention is on them for the fantasy matchups. They're going to lose that. You just know it.
I should win my next matchup, so hopefully I can get back to 500 and still be on a good track. Okay, do we want to go to the questions that were sent in? Did you pick 3?
Before the questions, I just wanted to briefly talk about the Flames. Do you know what the record is right now?
I believe it's like 12-6-3.
Wow, you got it right. They are 12-6-3, 27 points. That's on pace for 100 plus. Are they nasty?
Well, it was interesting because they had started off the season hot, and it was like, okay, this is like a miracle run.
Yeah.
And then they started losing more games, but they still had heart. They were like pushing games to overtime that they shouldn't have been in. But they were sliding a little bit. They were going back to what we expected from them. And now recently they've been winning games again. And now I'm kind of concerned, but I think you have some thoughts on this matter. Do you want to take it away first?
Yeah, so listen, even as an Oilers fan, it sounds really weird to say, but I wanted to believe in the Flames because, I mean, number one, that's an easy playoff out if we get them. Thank you very much. But their numbers are just bad. They're being carried by Dustin Wolf. I think that's pretty fair to say, and I think any Flames fan would say that. In fact, he was my number 1 pick for Calder. And I don't think it's particularly close right now. I think he's a legit starting goalie. He's been a top 10 goalie this year, playing almost every game, but a lot of the games. I think he easily deserves it right now. But
yeah, and it's kind of interesting too, because like when he played in the NHL last season, he struggled. He did not.
He
look
wasn't
good. He has turned it around a lot. Like obviously he was gonna be a great goalie.
Yeah,
but I didn't know he was gonna turn around so fast.
Sometimes you need a little taste, and then you dial it back, and then you come back. Sometimes that's all you need. But man, their even strength numbers, they are currently 20th in just expected goals for. Just that's their rank. So I mean, it's kind of as we expected. It's average, below average. Nothing to really complain about considering the roster. But I mean, they even when they're winning right now, they aren't an elite offense. But it's suggesting that they're actually going to be scoring less goals than they are. But I thought they would be a little better defensively, but they're giving up a lot of shots. They're giving up a lot of shots, and they currently also they rank 18th in the total offense against at even strength. So they're definitely not a bad team at all. Like a lot of people were coming into this year saying they were going to finish last. At some point, I think I didn't say that, but I kind of was on that train of thought where they've got like Miramonov on their top pair. It wasn't looking good, but man, their special teams are kind of mid. Their even strength is kind of mid. It doesn't take a genius to know they're going to fall off a little bit, but I'm really excited to see where Dustin Wolf can take them. I don't think it's unrealistic to say that they could get a wild card spot in the West, especially considering how much the parity in the league right now and how much the West is genuinely awful towards the bottom. But I mean, they're not going to be 12-6-3 all year. I'll tell you that right now. I would give them 91 points by the end of the year.
I do think that they also have some players who are underperforming. And they're still stacking up wins despite a lot of their better players not playing as well as they can. Like, to name one, Kuzmenko.
Yeah.
But Sharangovich has started slow. Huberdeau kind of fell off after being really good to start the season.
I think Sharangovich and Huberdeau, though, are just actually not good. I think this is just who they are, to be honest.
Nah, Sharangovich is the GOAT. 30-goal scorer, baby. I don't that guy.
It was a fluke. Sorry, it was a fluke.
He's still a good player.
What's he on, like 15 games
player.
and 3 points right now? Like, I don't know.
I mean, yeah,
obviously he's not that bad, but maybe a 40-point guy.
He's a middle 6 forward, and I feel like he can play a lot better than he has been. But they've gotten like Zeri's been good, Coronado's been good. They've just like their depth has been pretty fine too. Like Justin Kirkland is doing
Yeah,
fine.
they're a pretty good, well-rounded team, and
Yeah.
I mean, especially on the defense, those just random guys who were in the AHL last year, they're actually playing above expectations.
I really mess with Kevin Ball. I think he's a good player.
I don't think so. I think he's
He
pretty
had
bad.
a really good game against, I think, the Rangers, and they were talking about it on the broadcast. I feel I like him.
He does have a certain aura about him. He's got those lips. You know, they always captivate me. He's got those lips. I don't know, but he's not a good player. I'll say that.
What the fuck did you just say?
Anyways, we're gonna move on to the question period.
Wait. I'm just gonna end it by saying I don't think the Flames are gonna be at this point percentage all season, but I definitely think there's a chance of them making playoffs too. I'm hoping they don't fall off heavy. I would be cheering for them. I would want to see them in playoffs over a lot of other teams in the West. I mean, they're probably one of my top 10 favorite teams, so I wouldn't mind seeing them. And I wouldn't mind seeing them sweep the Oilers in the first round. Okay, let's go into the questions.
So, hold on. Before that, 91.5 points over or under for the Flames.
Man, I don't want to be, like... I don't want to be negative because I like this team, but I still think it might be under. I want it to be over, but I think it's going to be under. I don't know if they're making playoffs.
I'm thinking barely under, but yeah. Well, let's move on to the questions here. All right. So the first question we have here, I have a lot of thoughts on this one, but I mean we'll have to cut it short. So, what is the worst decision the Oilers and Canucks have made? I think we'll both give our thoughts. You go first for the Canucks.
Okay, I'm going to give 3 answers because there's one obvious one, there's one that I want to point out, and then I want to point out the worst mistake that the current management has made, but I'll make it quick. So, obviously, the worst mistake the Canucks ever made was Mark Messier. I mean, quite simply, he destroyed the team.
Where did that echo come from? Hello? Okay, we're back.
Our biggest mistake ever was by far Mark Messier, but that's a boring answer. The one that came to my mind first thinking about this was the trade of Jared McCann for Eric Goodbranson.
Ooh.
Because Goodbranson was one of the worst defensemen I've ever watched play for the Canucks, and Jared McCann is a 40-goal scorer. The worst one that honestly, the only mistake that stands out in my mind from the current management, besides our awful defense, was the Ilya Mikheyev contract. There's no reason. There's no reason he should have gotten $4.5 million for 4 years.
Well, I mean, yeah, the current management, yeah, I guess so. I think I can only give my thoughts on the like modern Canucks. I would say, man. I mean, obviously, I'm not as knowledgeable as you, but just from an outside looking in perspective, I would easily say the Ekman-Larsson trade. I mean, imagine if they had Dylan Guenther.
I feel like that's... Yeah.
There was no reason to make that trade. You were getting out of 1 year of bad contracts to have a like $5 million buyout. It's just strange.
I think that the Goodbranson for McCann was worse because we gave up a dude who scored 40 goals. Well, in the trade you mentioned, like Gunther is going to score 40 goals one day. So either way, we're giving up a 40-goal scorer. But at least in this case, we got a very good player back.
That's very different.
Obviously, we lost the trade, but like,
I think because you could also argue that for like, the Leafs traded away or the Penguins traded away McCann. But McCann was not scoring more than 20 anywhere but Seattle. That was a perfect. He wasn't becoming that player unless he went to Seattle. If he stayed in the Canucks, he would have been another. He would have been like a Jesse Puljujarvi. You know what I mean? Like he's not that guy.
He was fine as a Canuck. I think he could have.
He wasn't bad. It's just he wasn't.
I don't know if Jim Benning would have drafted Dylan Guenther. He probably wouldn't have, because another mistake that the Canucks have made, a big one, was drafting Olli Juolevi over Matthew Tkachuk. I am so sorry, Olli Juolevi. I do like you. I wish it could have worked out. That was the worst pick I've ever seen in my life.
I think, especially considering he wasn't there on most people's draft boards, I would change my answer. Not even in hindsight, that's an awful move. I think that would be my pick as for the worst.
I'm from London, and I was like, oh my god, we might get Matthew Tkachuk. We already had Bo Horvat. I was like, oh my god, we're going to get another night. And I heard them announce it, and they said London Knights. So I was like, let's go! Olio Levy. Are you fucking kidding me? We needed a defenseman. That's not the guy. Take Matthew Tkachuk.
Not that guy, pal. Not that guy.
Okay, go to Edmonton. What was the worst mistake the Oilers have made?
For Edmonton, there's a lot of things you can say, and they're all in like the Peter Chiarelli, Ken Holland era. You could say like, the Athanasiou trade where they gave up Brock Faber, his draft pick. You could talk about Hall for Larson, which I actually don't think is really as bad as... It's the same thing with McCann, where Hall was not becoming that player in Edmonton. He would have stayed a 60-point winger. I'm not going to go with any of those guys. I'm going to go with the catalyst that started it all. Hiring Bob Nicholson, who was involved in... Even just morally, that's completely corrupt. He was involved in all the Hockey Canada stuff. Even before the 2018 one, there's a couple others that most people don't talk about. So there's that. But he also hired Peter Chiarelli and Ken Holland and the awful pro scouting group we still have. He was involved in that. He wasn't the sole reason he got hired, but like he was the catalyst. He was the beginning of that entire era of terrible management. I think now, okay, people can talk about Stan Bowman, but I think we're a little out of that now. I think he's definitely better than, at least his track record is better, believe it or not, than what Holland and Chiarelli did for the Oilers. Basically every single move they made set us back by like a win. It was so bad, every single move. Frankly, it's just a testament to how amazing McDavid and Draisaitl are, especially considering how much they're paid. The fact that all those things happened and they still got to the finals. They still have had playoff success. They haven't won a cup. We'll see. We're waiting on that. But man, he was the start to all of this. But I understand you don't have the deeper look like that to think about the Oilers all the time like I do. What would you say?
Another criminal, Patrick alley-ooping to SpongeBob to Edmonton.
Who?
Another criminal to Edmonton.
Oh!
I tried to look for the photo of my camera roll. I do not have that shit.
I got so sucked in. I completely forgot about that. I love that meme, by the way.
Worst move for the Oilers. I mean, I don't really care, but I would say signing Campbell was awful. He wasn't that good of a goalie. Like, he had a good 2 months in Toronto.
That was
fell
pretty
off
bad
that season, and then he got $5 million for it.
That's probably easily a top 3, maybe even the worst move of Holland's career. We got really lucky that his buyout is basically nothing. So I mean, it's only $1 million for like 4 years, so it's not too bad.
Yeah, well, I'd go with that move or the decision to let Stuart Skinner play.
The decision to not get a goalie is pretty high up there. I think I'd make an amendment. Fumbling Jacob Markstrom is... I mean, it's not confirmed, but it's probably up there. If they had Markstrom, they win the cup. I don't think anyone argues that.
Yeah, but are the Flames really going to give you Markstrom?
No. This is when his contract...
Like in 2020?
Yeah, in 2020 when he was coming off the Canucks, it was either the Flames in a 6x6 or to the Oilers in a 5x7.
What about bringing Kuzmenko to Joey's?
Oh my goodness! No, you know what? Scrap everything I just said. Bringing Kuzmenko to Joe. There are so many nice restaurants in Edmonton. You take him to Joey's? A chain? Like, what's wrong with you? Seriously, he probably goes to Joey's and he's like, "What's this? I don't know." But man, and then he goes to the Canucks. He goes to Vancouver and he gets just treated to the most amazing dining experience. I'm sure, right? Like, ugh, man. Imagine.
Okay, let's go on to the next question. I think I struck a nerve there.
That question is too deep to keep it to like 5 minutes. Oh man. Okay, so If you could add or remove a rule from hockey, what would it be?
You go first on this one. I went first last time.
So I think most people know this one, but I would just cut the review down. We basically only need a review for like major penalties and goalie interference because that's a bit more subjective. I just get rid of offside review. That's basically it. We don't have a review for every single missed stoppage, so scrap it. I say it's just useless and it slows down the game.
I don't know. I feel like if it's close enough where it wouldn't really have an impact on the game.
It's so annoying.
You're right, but there are times when it can be useful.
Like
I don't think you can get rid of it entirely.
To me, if
it was like 3 minutes before the goal happened, then it's really annoying.
That's ridiculous.
But
if it's so tiny that you cannot see it on the first glance, which by the way, every single offside or like someone crossing the line, there's a linesman right there. If he misses it, it's clearly not influential on the play.
It's just tough because that makes it subjective instead of making it objective like it is right now, which, like, I don't know. It's kind of tough, I would say. I feel like we've cornered ourselves and now it needs to be a thing that exists. Thank you, Matt Duchene.
I definitely can't see them. Like, realistically, I'm just kind of shouting at the air. There's no way they're only going towards more review, which I disagree with, but they're never going to take it out.
All right, my answer is to a lesser scale than the offside review is. It doesn't have as much of an impact, but it pisses me off. Why the fuck is it an extra 2-minute penalty if the guy's bleeding? What the fuck? That's the most arbitrary thing I've ever heard in my life. Like, they say you cause damage, maybe you hit them extra hard, but there are definitely times when someone gets hit really hard, there's no blood. Times when people get hit really soft, there is blood. I mean, former NHL players have admitted to like biting the inside of their cheek to try to draw blood to get an extra 2-minute penalty. It makes I just don't get it. I don't get it. It's blood. These players bleed all the time. Why does that make it an extra 2 minutes in the box?
And if the blood comes like way after the injury when they're on the bench, doesn't matter. Even if it's like 10 seconds after, doesn't matter. It is. I mean, I haven't even thought about that, but I think I'd agree with that. It's just kind of arbitrary, and there's no reason really for it to be there.
It should just be a 2-minute. If it's really bad, you give a major. Why is blood part of this?
I actually, you know what? I think what I would do on this is take out an automatic 4-minute penalty or double minor for it being. I would completely scrap the issue of it. You score one in the first 2 minutes, and just that 2 minutes goes away. Just make it a 4-minute power play in between a 2-minute minor and a major. Have it like call it a medium, and just have a 4-minute regular power play for something that's not bad enough to be a major, but definitely more egregious than a simple infraction.
That could be something, but also you could just get rid of it entirely because it's just blood. What are we, 2?
It's a little silly, especially when it's like a nosebleed because he got hit in like the nose it's just weird.
I waited for so long last season to say it on my story. I waited specifically for a Canuck to bleed from like a high stick so I could say it on my story and not sound just angry.
Yeah. I do that with offside review.
Yeah, no, it's just I hate that rule with all of my heart.
I mean,
I posted a Nux thought about it one time. It was one of my first Nux thoughts. I'm gonna pull it up. You yap while I pull it up.
I have not even thought about it, but it's a really good point. It's completely arbitrary, and there's plenty of times where guys are bleeding and nothing's actually wrong with them. They're not like injured. It's just they got cut a little bit. That's not like a serious thing with that could like a giant break or a bruise that goes uncalled wouldn't have blood. Just kind of silly.
I actually really like this Nux thought, but it was one of my first ones, so not a lot of people saw it. It is high sticking shouldn't be a 4-minute penalty if it draws blood. Dude's in the box for double the time because his opponent doesn't floss properly. I really like that one.
Okay, that was pretty good.
All right, final topic of the day, I believe, is what we're going to.
Final question. Thoughts on the Kendrick album?
Yep.
I'll let you take it away because you got the Nux tunes.
I really love it. I think there's a good balance of bangers that he makes. Like, TV off.
You peaked.
And then you've got what's the song where it's like, who the fuck I feel like Joker.
He does not say that. You made that up.
No, it's Dodie Six who says it. Dodie Six says it on Hey Now. Hey Now is a banger.
Yeah.
You got two beautiful songs with SZA. The intro's great.
Absolutely amazing.
The intro is very good. He's talking about like Lil Wayne and stuff, and how Nas is the only one to congratulate him. We got the Squabble Up full edition. Reincarnated has the best lyricism on the entire album, and
some of the best lyricism he's ever had.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. It's one of his best storytelling songs ever. I really enjoy Dodger Blue, a calmer like '90s R&B cut kind of thing, very West Coast. Yeah, Heart Part 6, good too. Talking about the Black Hippies and Absol, Schoolboy Q. I think this is great. They're really like Man at the Garden. I don't really love. I think it's like fine, but I wouldn't ever really listen to it in my free time. If I'm not listening to it in the context of this album, I wouldn't listen to it.
Really?
And I don't love the title track, GNX. I think the beat's kind of goofy.
Yeah, I was going to say GNX, for an album, I personally would give like a 8.5, like a 9, that kind of level. That song, I kind of love when he does the silly little stupid goofy stuff like he did with oh man, what's the other song he does it on? I think it's Hey Now, yeah. But man, that song felt like a 2010 OF track. Like I was just waiting for Earl and Tyler to hop on. Like it was
it was weird, yeah.
It was, I wouldn't call it bad, but it's just like, what am I listening to? I've never heard Kendrick do this.
What's your favorite of the songs?
Easily Reincarnated.
Okay, yeah. That's valid. I love Luther. I love SZA's voice.
So good. It's so good.
The strings on Luther give me chills. And then SZA's voice, like SZA's on Gloria a lot, but her part, like that starts with Gloria, I want to take you to Euphoria. That part is so good, and it's what ends the album. It's so perfect, just leaving you with chills to end it.
Kendrick he keeps going. He just keeps going. It's insane.
It's not my album of the year. I will say that. I think it's probably going to end up. It's probably top 10. I like it more than I like Chromacopia. I think it's a great album. I would have it over Section 80. I'd have it over Overly Dedicated. I'd have it over.
You know what? I'm going to stop you right there. I don't think you can compare it. Okay, in terms of like how good it is, but I don't think you can compare it to
for sure. But I find more enjoyment in GNX, and I think you can compare any album with any other album in terms of how much you enjoy.
It's not, yeah, it's not conceptual like To Pimp a Butterfly.
Yeah,
it's
got
a lot
some
more
good themes through it. Like he's battling his way through like fame and all these people coming at him.
Oh, it's got like storytelling and deeper stuff inside of it, but it's also laden with bangers and just unconnected narratives that are more present in, unironically, something you'd expect in like a Drake album where there's maybe a deeper meaning.
I kind of feel like they're aimed directly at Drake for just because of like the vibe of the songs.
But the fact that he could go from like a straight Tupac vibe on Reincarnated to something like the Heart Part 6, which is very much his own, to something like Luther that's completely new, and then Dodger Blue that almost has like a synthwave kind of feel to it. It's just, okay, we're riding him enough, but this guy is actually Jesus. Like, hold on,
he's great. I'm glad that he dropped something before the Super Bowl performance. I do also want to say, because I haven't said it, the song Gloria reminds me of Father Time a lot, and Father Time was one of the best songs on missing.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, I really enjoyed this album. It's going to end up pretty high in my Nux Tunes rankings. I'll probably review it soon, so look out for that, all you Nux Tunes heads. A dude at the game yesterday actually complimented Nux Tunes. It was the best.
Really? Hey, must have felt gassed up. Hold on. I actually stopped you before you could do it, but where do you think you would place it in his albums?
It's really hard right now because it's only been out for 2 days. It's definitely top 5. I don't know if I'd have it over any of, like Good Kid, Mad City, T-Pab, Damn, and Mr. Morale, but I'd have to give it more time. I know a lot of people are going to have it over Mr. Morale, but Mr. Morale is my second favorite Kendrick.
It's not my second favorite. I think I'd place it 4th under Mr. Morale, and then Good Kid, Mad City, and then T-Pab. I'd have it over Damn, because Damn has a lot of weak tracks.
I don't know if GNX might land as my 5th favorite Kendrick, but the thing with it is I'm going to listen to it more than I listen to even T-Pab, because there's so much, like, when you listen to T-Pab, you gotta, like, be in the mood to listen. You
have to listen to it front to back, and it's a different experience.
And it's more difficult. Like, there are just so many listenable songs that you can... there's some on To Pimp a Butterfly, like, you can listen to All Right alone, but there's just so many songs in here that you don't need to listen to the whole album for, and there's a song for every mood. I mean, a lot of T-Pab is jazz rap, so you got to be in that jazz rap mood. But in this, you got bangers, you got chill cuts, you got storytelling, you got R&B.
I mean, did everything.
You did.
Well, I mean, I think we've nerded out on Kendrick enough. We will see you guys next time. That was episode 7. We're gonna come at you with episode 8 next week, but episode 7 that concludes it. We will see you guys all next time on the Pacific Perspectives podcast. Thank you very much.